History rarely offers a figure as unsettling as Amon Göth, a man whose outward charm masked one of the darkest legacies of the Holocaust. At first glance, he appeared polished, sociable, even friendly to some. But beneath that exterior lay the brutal hand behind the atrocities committed at the Płaszów concentration camp. Göth commanded with terror, executing prisoners on a whim, often from the balcony of his villa overlooking the camp. He kept dogs trained to tear inmates apart and presided over mass killings with an eerie calm. To those outside the barbed wire, he could seem composed and courteous. To those within, he was a monster. This contrast between a seemingly normal facade and his horrific deeds makes Göth's story deeply disturbing. In examining his rise, his crimes, and his downfall, we confront a terrifying reality. Sometimes, the face of evil is not monstrous at all. It's disarmingly human. Amon Leopold Göth was born on December 11, 1908, in Vienna, Austria, into a conservative middle-class Catholic family. His father was a book publisher, and his upbringing was reportedly stable, educated, and rooted in traditional values. Yet by his teenage years, Göth was already showing signs of radical political leanings. In 1930, at just 22 years old, he joined the Austrian Nazi Party and later the SS, fully embracing the ideology of racial purity and authoritarian control. Göth's early years in the SS saw him involved in underground operations, particularly in Nazi efforts to destabilize Austria before its annexation by Germany in 1938. He was committed, ambitious, and ideologically driven. Traits that earned him promotions as the Nazi war machine expanded across Europe. In 1942, Göth was transferred to occupied Poland and quickly rose through the ranks. By February 1943, he was appointed commandant of the newly established Kraków-Płaszów concentration camp, built on the site of two former Jewish cemeteries. Initially constructed as a forced labor camp, Płaszów rapidly evolved into a site of mass terror, executions, and inhumane living conditions under Göth's rule. Göth brought with him not only a fanatical devotion to Nazi ideals, but also a cold-blooded efficiency in implementing them. He supervised the liquidation of the Krakow ghetto and was instrumental in the deportation and murder of thousands of Jews and political prisoners. His combination of ideological zeal and sadistic behavior would soon define the daily horror of Płaszów and secure his place in infamy. One of the most disturbing aspects of Amon Göth's legacy was his ability to present a composed, even charming demeanor, especially to outsiders or those within his personal circle. To some of his peers and visiting Nazi officials, Göth was articulate, confident, and sociable. He dressed sharply, hosted elegant dinners, and cultivated an image of control and sophistication. Yet behind this friendly face was a man who embodied some of the most sadistic behaviors witnessed during the Holocaust. Göth's villa, perched on a hill overlooking the Płaszów camp, symbolized this duality. From its balcony, he could enjoy coffee or wine while casually shooting at prisoners in the yard below for sport or discipline. Eyewitnesses, including survivors later interviewed for Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List, recalled how he would select random inmates, order them to run, and then shoot them as if hunting game. It was a game to him, a display of power wrapped in perverse entertainment. He kept two large dogs, Rolf and Ralph, trained to attack and kill prisoners on command. Survivors told of the dogs being unleashed on individuals as a form of punishment or spectacle. Göth would smile as it happened. He rarely showed anger. Instead, his violence was calm, deliberate, and chilling in its emotional detachment. Despite these horrors, Göth maintained a disturbing illusion of normalcy. He had a mistress living with him in the villa, socialized with fellow officers, and maintained order in his personal life. To those not imprisoned in Płaszów, he could appear like a competent administrator, or a respected SS officer. This dissonance, the friendly exterior paired with monstrous cruelty, makes Göth particularly terrifying. He was not the caricature of a frothing madman. He was worse. His evil was methodical, masked by civility, and made more horrifying by how ordinary it appeared to those who didn't look too closely. Amon Göth reminds us that true danger often doesn't wear a snarl. It can smile. It can shake your hand. It can look entirely human while doing the inhuman. Under Amon Göth's command, the Płaszów concentration camp became a place of relentless suffering and systematic murder. Officially, it was designated a forced labor camp, but in practice, it operated as a site of execution and terror. Between 8,000 and 10,000 people are estimated to have died there during its operation, many of them personally murdered or ordered to death by Göth. One of the defining moments of his reign was the liquidation of the Krakow ghetto in March 1943. Thousands of Jews were forcibly removed from their homes, many shot in the streets, while others were sent to Płaszów or deported to extermination camps like Auschwitz. Göth supervised this operation, showing no hesitation as families were torn apart, children killed, and neighborhoods erased. Life in Płaszów under his rule was hellish. Inmates were subjected to starvation, beatings, and random executions. The camp's cemetery became a killing ground, with Göth often leading or personally witnessing mass shootings. He had complete autonomy over life and death within the camp, a role he embraced with chilling enthusiasm. But Göth's brutality did not go unnoticed by the Nazi regime. In 1944, he was arrested by the SS itself, not for his murders, but for corruption and theft of Jewish property. He was never tried by the Nazis due to the collapse of the Third Reich, and he was eventually captured by American forces in 1945. In 1946, Göth stood trial before a Polish court in Krakow. He was charged with mass murder, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. The evidence against him, testimonies, records, and photographs, was overwhelming. Survivors described his violence in painful detail. He showed little remorse during the proceedings. Göth was found guilty and sentenced to death. On September 13, 1946, he was hanged near the site of the former Płaszów camp. A photograph taken just before his execution captures his final moments, calm, emotionless, staring at the gallows. Decades later, Göth would become widely known through Ralph Fiennes' portrayal in Schindler's List, a performance praised for capturing the cold, detached cruelty of the man behind the atrocities. It reintroduced Göth's name to millions, ensuring that his crimes would not be forgotten. Amon Göth's legacy forces us to confront one of the most disturbing truths of human behavior: that monstrous acts are not always committed by visibly monstrous people. Göth didn't scream or rant like many of his contemporaries. He didn't wear madness on his sleeve. He wore tailored uniforms, hosted dinner parties, and smiled for photographs. His brand of evil was clinical, composed, and terrifyingly efficient. This contrast is what makes him such a powerful symbol of the Holocaust's moral complexity. Göth reminds us that charisma, intelligence, or even apparent friendliness can exist alongside profound cruelty. It is not madness or rage that makes someone dangerous. It is ideology fused with opportunity and a lack of conscience. His story also underscores the importance of remembering the perpetrators, not just the victims. Memorializing the horrors of Płaszów must include understanding those who orchestrated them. Without that, we risk forgetting how ordinary people, those who seemed civilized, became architects of genocide. Through media, history books, and survivor testimony, Amon Göth's name continues to echo, not as a mere villain, but as a warning. He is a reminder that evil doesn't always look like a monster. It can come dressed as your neighbor, your officer, your boss. In a world still grappling with authoritarianism, violence, and dehumanization, Göth's story remains chillingly relevant. His friendly face and brutal legacy are not just a contradiction. They are a mirror held up to human nature. And so we must ask, if evil can hide behind charm and civility, how can we ever be sure we're seeing the truth behind the smile?